Hi guys, following the very positive results for Sinn Féin at the local elections this month, and then winning top spot at the Northern Ireland Assembly before that, but also couple this with the growing support down south, which could see Mary Lou-McDonald as the next Taoiseach, are we any closer to a referendum on the future of the island of Ireland? Now, according to the Good Friday Agreement, it's up to the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland to call a border poll. However, those against the idea have said that the nationalist parties haven't won enough votes to demonstrate sufficient support for a united Ireland. Here the BBC's Mark Carruthers challenges the Sinn Féin leader on this point, but I believe him and Mary Lou are actually wrong on this. Have a listen.
Remember this also, people understandably will focus on the question of the ending of partition, of reunification, of a new Ireland, when we start to flesh out exactly what that means, and when people understand very fully that they're not spectators, that everybody, all of us, every section of our people will have a hand in designing and deciding what that new Ireland looks like.
You will know very well the Good Friday Agreement says the Secretary of State shall call a border poll if at any time it appears likely to him, or presumably her, that a majority of those voting would express a wish that Northern Ireland should cease to be part of the United Kingdom and form part of a united Ireland. And I'm simply saying to you that if you look at the combined nationalist vote last time round at 43.5%, you are nowhere near clearing the bar of 50% plus one.
But equally, can I say to you that those who would argue for the maintenance of the union are well below, fall well short of that 50% threshold.
Well,
so in the numbers, if you want. Well, exactly. Well, you're making my point for me. That's precisely the point. So in terms of the data and the stats, I mean, arguably we are at the point now in these times where the calling of referendums will not only be defensible, but absolutely necessary. But the reality of this, because this has to work for everybody, this is about a win for everybody on this island. The reality is that we will not go to the polls on a referendum in the absence of engagement, preparation and planning. We saw how that worked out for our neighbours across the water in the Brexit context. We will not be so foolish as to make that mistake again. I want everybody to be involved and have a stake in all of this. And that's the important work that needs to happen now.
Do you think?
In the latter part, I agree with her. The part that I disagree with, both her and Mark Carruthers, is that we shouldn't be focusing on the assembly elections. We shouldn't be focusing on the council elections, on the local elections, because people vote for different reasons, be them assembly elections or council election or local elections. And you can apply this to the rest of the UK as well. People vote for different reasons in the general election as to the local elections. So using the assembly elections or the local elections as a barometer is flawed, because you'll have people who will vote for the SDLP, for example, but they're not voting for a united Ireland when they vote in the local elections or in the assembly elections. On their mind is not a united Ireland. In the same way, there'll be people who vote for the Alliance Party who would be looking at the data would be regarded as neutral. But if you were to ask them about a united Ireland, they may say, yes, I prefer a united Ireland, but at the moment I'm voting for the Alliance Party because I'm not satisfied with the SDLP or Sinn Féin or the UUP or DUP. So I vote for the Alliance Party because I prefer that party being in a position of power within the Northern Ireland Assembly, or being in opposition in the Northern Ireland Assembly, or in the Council because they will implement policies that I agree with in the context of Northern Ireland, not on the issue of constitutional change. So I think this idea that, well, you need to look at, the nationalist vote in the local elections, or the nationalist vote, combined nationalist vote in the assembly elections, and that's the barometer you use to determine whether there's enough support for a united Ireland, is deeply flawed. It would make more sense to have regular polling, weekly polling. The Secretary of State should start now polling the public, asking them in Northern Ireland, do you support a united Ireland, or do you prefer Northern Ireland remain part of the United Kingdom? And the same question, a simple question every week for the next, 12 months, and see what people come back with. And then you can determine, and I think it would be a much better barometer, in a sense, to use to determine whether there's enough support for a border poll or enough support for constitutional change. But the idea that you use the assembly elections or the local elections as your yardstick is flawed, because once again, people vote for different reasons. People are not thinking about the constitutional situation of Northern Ireland when they're voting in a local election. Generally, some people do, but I think the vast majority don't. They're concerned about the NHS, they're concerned about the economy, they're concerned about getting their bins collected. They're not thinking about a united Ireland or the Union. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.